The deep red catches your eye through the leaves. You kneel, lift it gently with 2 fingers, and the underside is hollowed out, slug-slimed, pin-pricked with tiny holes. A whole week of ripening, gone in a night. And here's the part that stings. The easy fixes we've been sold. Spray first, water at dusk, hang shiny tape, pick when you have time, are quietly feeding the very pests wrecking your patch. 5 moves, mostly timing and touch, starting with the raiders who arrive while you sleep. What if waiting just 1 extra day to pick is the single thing turning your strawberry patch into a nursery for tiny worms? Because that's exactly what happens. The move is brutally simple. Walk the row every 1 to 2 days during peak ripening. And the second a berry comes off the plant, it goes straight into the fridge at 32 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the routine Michigan State and the University of Minnesota Extension keep pointing back to as the top non-spray control for spotted-winged drosophila and sap beetles. Here's why the rhythm matters. Spotted-winged drosophila adults are only 2 to 3 millimeters long, smaller than a sesame seed. And the females slip an egg into softening fruit without leaving a mark you'd notice. Leave that berry 1 more sunny afternoon, and you've handed her a hatchery. Chill it within the hour, and the cold stalls the eggs and larvae cold, right there in the fruit. The berry stays sweet. The cycle breaks. Now here's where almost everyone gets led astray, and it's not your fault. Clamshell packaging, weekend gardener advice, even well-meaning permaculture posts normalize once-a-week picking. They tell you to leave soft or dropped berries on the ground to finish or to feed the soil. That mush on the dirt, that's a buffet. Every overripe berry, every split one, every drop, gathered up and out of the bed. Compost it sealed or bury it deep. You've cut the food supply. But the next attackers don't need a soft berry to start. They just need an open lane to the patch. If you could throw an invisible wall around your berries, when would you raise it? And how would you keep it from locking out the bees you actually need? Because timing is the whole game here. The wall is fine insect netting or a well-sealed row cover for bugs, and 1/2 inch or smaller mesh, or a rigid berry cage for birds. Cornell's New York State IPM program and Cornell Cooperative Extension are blunt about this. Exclusion works when it's fully sealed and installed before the pests arrive, not the week after you see the first hole. Picture the cover like a tent with no zipper gaps, edges pinned to the soil, hoops holding fabric off the leaves, every seam tight. During bloom, you lift it or roll it back so bees can do their work. Strawberry flowers that get worked by pollinators set bigger, better-shaped fruit. Bloom ends, cover goes back on, sealed again before berries start to color. And here's the trap we've been sold. The garden aisle is full of holographic tape, plastic owls, shiny pinwheels. Birds figure those out in about 3 days. Loose bird netting draped over a bush snags wings and still lets robins reach through. The mistake that costs more berries than any other is treating exclusion like decoration instead of architecture. Build it like you mean it. Hoops, tight mesh, sealed edges. Or skip it. Do it right, and the pecks stop. The SWD bounces off the mesh, and the patch goes quiet. But even a perfect fortress has one weakness: the soil line. And what's crawling along it after dark is the next problem. Why do some beds hand you clean, glossy, ruby-red berries the morning after a rain, while others serve up a gritty, slime-rimmed mess? Same weather, same variety. The difference is whether the fruit is touching wet ground. The move is straw mulch, a thick, golden layer tucked under every plant, cradling the trusses so the berries rest on dry, breathable stems instead of cold, damp soil. The University of Minnesota Extension recommends it specifically for strawberries. And the reasons stack up fast. Cleaner fruit, far less gray mold and fruit rot, and a real drop in slug access. Because slugs hate crossing dry, scratchy material to reach a meal. Run your fingers through good straw mulch, and you'll feel why it works. It's airy. It wicks moisture up and away. The berry sits on it like a cushion. No mud splash when the rain hits. No constant film of wet against the skin of the fruit. Compare that to bare soil after a storm. Every berry pressed into a puddle, softening from the bottom up, broadcasting sugar into the air. Here's where the catalog photos mislead. Those tidy, bare soil beds with one strawberry plant rising out of dark brown earth look gorgeous in print. In the real world, they park your fruit on a sponge. Thin, patchy mulch is almost as bad. A few berries lifted, the rest still kissing the dirt. Go thick. 3 to 4 inches of clean straw, refreshed when it mats down. You've dried the buffet, but slugs don't need a wet berry to find you. They need a wet night, and the next move shuts their schedule down completely. If slugs do almost all their damage between sundown and sunrise, what single schedule change makes tonight's holes vanish? Change when you water. That's it. That's the first move. UC IPM is clear that slugs are most active at night and after irrigation. And Oregon State University Extension flat out recommends morning watering, not evening, as part of integrated slug control. Water at dawn, and the soil surface dries by dusk. Water at dusk, and you've laid out a damp, cool runway timed exactly to when they're crawling. The same hose, 8 hours earlier, changes the outcome. Layer 2. A clean copper line. Copper tape around raised beds, container rims, or the base of a berry cage gives slugs a small electric feeling reaction they refuse to cross. The catch, and this is where it usually fails, is maintenance. One leaf draped over the strip, one clump of soil bridging the gap, and they walk right over. Keep it clean, keep it clear. Layer 3. Only if you still see damage. Iron phosphate bait. UC IPM rates it effective and far lower risk to pets, birds, and beneficial beetles than the old metaldehyde pellets. Scatter sparingly, follow the label, and pair it with the other 2 moves. And here's what we were quietly led into believing worked. Beer traps. Diatomaceous earth scattered around the plants. Both fall apart in exactly the conditions slugs love. Wet ones. The diatomaceous earth turns to paste the moment dew hits. The beer trap pulls slugs in from 3 yards away faster than it drowns the ones you had. Ground war handled. But the stealth pests, the ones already inside the fruit, or twisting your berries at the flower, need a different kind of eye. How do you know the exact day to act and use the lightest possible touch that still works? You let the pests tell you. Move 1 is a monitoring trap, a small cup with a yeast sugar mix or plain apple cider vinegar hung at the edge of the patch. The University of Minnesota Extension recommends these specifically because they catch the first arriving spotted wing drosophila adults and tell you the clock has started. It's a detector, not a control. The day you find those tiny 2-millimeter flies floating in there is the day you tighten the netting, sweep up every dropped berry, and start chilling harvests within the hour. Move 2 is the tap test for tarnished plant bug. Hold a white paper plate under a truss and tap the flowers sharply. If pale green nymphs drop onto the plate, you've found the culprit behind those small, lumpy, misshapen buttonberries that never quite ripen right. Catching them at the nymph stage before damage compounds is the whole point. Move 3, and only if monitoring says yes, a targeted spinosad spray. Michigan State Extension lists it as an organic option that can suppress SWD on ripening strawberries. The rules are non-negotiable. Never spray open flowers, protect your pollinators, rotate active ingredients so resistance doesn't build, and obey the pre-harvest interval on the label. Now, here's the trap. The garden chemical industry would love you to fall into. Calendar sprays, harsh, homemade vinegar and soap mixes hitting ripe fruit. Both burn leaves, leave residues you'll eat, miss the pests hiding inside the berry, and hammer the bees you spent all spring courting. You're not fighting harder. You're watching closer and acting once. You're the grower who doesn't let a gadget aisle or a lazy myth steal your berries. You harvest with intention. You fence the air when it matters. You dry the ground beneath the fruit. You only pull a tool when the pests themselves announce they've arrived. That first perfect berry hollowed out at the top of this video? That wasn't your fault. It was the story we've been sold about quick fixes. This season, you write a quieter one. Calm mornings, clean red fruit, a patch that shrugs off the nightly raid.